We're happy today to bring you on this tour of what we call the Vineyard Augmentation Project. Basically, what we have here, we're moving water from a location of excess to an area of deficit. We're moving the water from a vineyard here in St. Philip, where we have a bit of excess water, into the areas where we have deficits, like St. John, St. Joseph, and parts of St. Thomas. This vineyard, what we call the Vineyard Water Augmentation Project, it comprises of a pumping station. We're going to be having a pumping station here at Vineyard. We're laying 7.3 kilometers of main, the entire length. We're having a reservoir and a pumping station at Mount Pleasant, and this system will transfer water into those areas of deficit. We have, working with the Barbados Water Authority to accelerate the program, a number of contractors. There are about 6 contractors working, and as we go along the route, you will see that has helped to accelerate the installation of the pipes on this route.
Now, in 2012, we had a contract. We gave a contract to Portable Water Supply, Inc. to explore some groundwater in the Groves area. And in 2016, we were able to commission those wells for production. Now, the reason we put those wells, that program into place, was because we had received information from the Town and Planning Office saying they had about 12,000 lots, applications for development in St. Philip and the Christchurch Dome. So we had to find water for them. We needed 5 million gallons. We were able from that project to find 3, some of which we're already utilizing. But the extra water out of that 3, we have been pumping to this reservoir to feed part of St. Philip. And some of it is still available for us to push upstream. This reservoir was constructed in the 80s. This is what we call a below ground reservoir. You notice the top is covered, so no rainwater will go in there. So when we're talking about recovery, we're not talking about these reservoirs recovering when it rains. What happens when it rains is that the people who irrigate from a public supply system stop using that water. So we get more water staying in the pipes and getting into the reservoirs. So it's not because the water is going directly into the reservoir, the man-made reservoir. Now, in St. John, the area there, which is inland, has no seawater below it. When you pass a 200-foot contour and you start going inland, you won't find any seawater. So that water drains it out towards the lower elevations, and when you have a drought, the first locations to feel the drought are the areas inland, because that water is coming from there and draining down. So most times we'll feel the impact of drought in St. John, St. Thomas, St. Andrew, the inland areas, before we feel the impact, for example, at our Hampton pumping station and the Bell pumping station. In fact, there's about a 9-month difference before you feel the drought. But the rainwater takes, on average, 3 months to become groundwater, and we could then be in a position to pump it. So the rain that fell yesterday hasn't got there yet. So the surplus that we're looking to move from here is 1.5 million gallons that will be pumping from here per day. And we'll lift it, as Charles indicated, to Mount Pleasant, where we'll have a tank. And then from there, we'll lift it into the Golden Ridge system. And once it gets to Golden Ridge, it can supply areas of St. John that are experiencing problems. We will also be able to pump that water from the Golden Ridge Reservoir to Castle Grant to service the higher elevation areas of St. Joseph, St. Thomas, St. Andrew, which are serviced from Castle Grant Reservoir. And Castle Grant is the highest reservoir that we have. It's only 10 feet below the highest peak of Hillaby. So the pump house is going to be on the just below here on the left side, and that the water will come into the reservoir. Then we'll have a pipe that will come out into the pump house and join into the pipeline that we're putting out there. Now you have seen the black pipes that we saw on the side of the road. That's a more recent introduction to our supply network. What we used to use were 20-foot length pipes, which had push fit joints. So you push the two ends of the pipe together, and there's a rubber that seals that joint. These ones, what we're doing is fusing the pipes together, and we'll show you along the way where the guys are actually fusing the pipes. You put a hot plate in between the two ends of the pipe gets hot. When it's hot enough and has reached a particular temperature, you take out the hot plate, push them together and hold them together for a while, and you see when the joint is finished because a bead forms around the joint. The goodness about that is that even when the land moves or shifts, the joint does not move. The other pipes, because of the jointing, when the land moves, you could get some leakage in the joint. So part of the advantage of using this line is that we are also going to reduce the amount of leakage that we have. Right. The first place we introduced it was on the East Coast, the spring line, and what we used there was a drill bit. You push it into the old pipe, and it breaks the old pipe, and behind the drill bit, you have tied the new pipe, and you pull it through. So that is a pipe bursting technique. We use a little bit of it in Robert Street as well. In some sections, we couldn't do that. But what we did was take the drill bit and drill through the ground and pull the pipe through. So we didn't have to open trenches. And you know the land slippage that happens out there? With this pipe, it can twist and move with the land slippage, and we still have a pipe that can still carry our water.
As all of you know, water is life. And for the last couple of months, and some would say probably years, there were problems in St. John and St. Joseph, and the Eastern Corridor was absolutely severe. I know well because I live in St. John myself, and I experienced the same problems that all the other residents were facing. Now, today you will have been on tour and you will have seen what the BWA is doing to rectify the problem as it relates to solving that water problem. I know that extensive work was done in St. John as it relates to main replacement. We have work being done and some being completed at Churchview, Clifton Hall, Coach Hill. We've just seen Messiah Street, Dutch Village, Hot House. All of these are locations where extensive main replacement is being done through the Barbados Water Authority. Now, to the residents in St. John, I am fully aware that the problem that we are experiencing in St. John and the Eastern Corridor, St. Joseph, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, will in short order be solved. This particular project is well in excess of $10 million. Now, from a minister's perspective in the Ministry of Water Resources, I'm saying to you that we're using a scaffolding approach as it relates to projects within the ministry. By that, I mean that we're building one project after the other. So it is not only St. John and St. Joseph and the Eastern Corridor that is going to be fixed, but eventually all of the issues that we're having in the country, we're looking as much as possible to rectify that. If it is through the replacement of mains, if it is what is happening at Vineyard, where we're augmenting the water supply that will come to Boylston and Golden Ridge, all of that is in place. So there's a new push. I mean, Minister and myself, we're driving on the chair, and the staff at Waterworks, that in 4 weeks, I am blown away by the amount of expertise that is within the Barbados Water Authority. You know, you look from the outside and you're critical, but now when you're in place, you understand the amount of pressure that is happening on a daily basis. And My phone constantly glow up with problems in terms of leaks, in terms of persons not having water. We understand the fractured nature that was there before. And I'm saying that in a similar way that you would have seen today that we're fusing those pipes together, we are going to fix the fractures that are happening as it relates to the water resources on this entire island. Thank you.
Parishes of St. John and St. Joseph. The Barbados Water Authority has done an outstanding job, an amazing job in putting together the resources and the project teams necessary to facilitate the works that you would witness yourself on tour this afternoon. You would have seen that and heard earlier that we have commenced 7.3 kilometers of mains replacements throughout this constituency. But I also want to advise you that the government of Barbados, through funding from the CDB, also negotiated a $14.8 million loan facility to also help with mains replacements within this constituency of St. John. I must tell you that at the conclusion of the mains laying process, the Barbados Water Authority, as the executing agency, would have spent in excess of $23.8 million on the mains replacement program in St. John. In other words, the residents of St. John will benefit from perhaps having the most modern mains laying program, mains facility within the parish of St. John. We are spending the money here because it's going to have a reach all the way through to St. Joseph, right through to St. Thomas and St. Andrew. And as you would have heard from the experts, the engineers, Dr. Mawansa, as well as Mr. Charles Leslie, you would have heard from them, giving you the more technical details. Now, the people of St. John and certainly St. Joseph will have better water access. And not taken away from the Barbados Water Authority, but they will have better water access as a result of the significant capital expenditure that we have made available in this area. So for us as a government, it is an ongoing commitment. As you would appreciate, over time we have to replace mains. We will have within the Barbados Water Authority and certainly within the ministry a new strategic initiative to ensure that we have mains replaced. You will ask that, and you would certainly recognize that mains replacement is not a cheap undertaking. It is a substantial undertaking. In fact, we have been advised that 1 kilometer of mains would cost you $1 million. But we also have to recognize that the mains that we've had in Barbados through the length and breadth of Barbados are in some instances in excess of 100 years old. So it will take time. But I give, as the parliamentary representative, I give the people of St. John and St. Joseph our commitment that we will ensure that this project to supply water to them and to ensure there's a consistent supply of water in the areas mentioned, our commitment that we will do whatever it takes and whatever is necessary to ensure they have consistent supply of water. And I'm sure that when you return to your newsrooms, you will for sure be able to validate that based on the projects that you've seen on tour this morning. We will work hand in hand with the contractors. Obviously, all of us would like water right away, but there's a process, as you would have seen. But for us, we are going to maintain regular visits to the project sites every month, and if necessary, every week. We will be on the job. We will be monitoring the performance. You can see that the contractors have done a wonderful job. And at this time, I would want to congratulate the project team, and particularly the chair of the Barbados Water Authority, for staying on top of this exercise, because to undertake the project, the size of this project, the magnitude of this project, requires exceptional leadership. And I must commend the chair of the Barbados Water Authority for the job that she's doing in ensuring that we fulfill the mandate to supply water, not only throughout the entire Barbados, but in particular where we have our challenges with supply in St. John, St. Joseph, St. Thomas, St. Andrew, and Northern Barbados.